welcome to Guitar Riffs and Career Shifts. I'm James and I have my good friend Doug here, and I will let Doug introduce himself.
Thanks, James. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Doug. I'm from Halifax, Nova Scotia. James and I have met through our day jobs.
Yeah.
We work in post-secondary education. I have the privilege to be the director of work integrated learning and cooperative education at Dalhousie, one of the co-op offices that we have. I'm also a retired artillery officer from the Army Reserves, so that gives me a unique perspective on things. And I'm a father of two great kids, married to a wonderful woman back home in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Doug.
Thank you.
I think you forgot to mention one other thing.
I'm a musician. We need to keep that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's not something I used to say about myself until you encouraged me, and so I am a musician.
We are currently attending a conference which is taking place in Hamilton, Ontario.
Right.
Previously, Doug and I have met in similar conference.
It was in Calgary. That's
Last
where we
year.
discovered the bond of music.
Back then, we talked a lot about music and how we have been music enthusiasts, guitar players, and most interestingly, we didn't have our instruments with us. So I took a mental note that whenever there is another opportunity coming up, we would like to do some jam together. And that's what brought us here, as we have a unique piece of instrument. I don't think you have noticed it yet. This is Enya, the travel size Nova Go guitar. This has been added to my recent gears. Right before joining this conference in Hamilton, I was looking for a guitar which doesn't take a lot of real estate and is easy to carry. Thought of giving this a shot, and now I would like Doug's opinion.
It's a great little guitar. It surprised me. I mean, it's not my seagull guitar, that's for sure, right? It's not made of wood, it's carbon fiber. It feels completely different. So it's taken a little bit to kind of get used to it. What surprised me the most about this is how honest the sound is. The deep notes, they come through, it resonates really well, and the brightness is there. So for something that's small and not made out of wood, that's the thing I think surprised me about this instrument. Yeah.
Great. If any beginner ever asks for your suggestions, if they're planning to buy similar instruments, what would your recommendations be?
Well, if that person's looking for a lightweight guitar and they're not sure if they're really going to be interested, it's a budget-friendly option, right? So, especially if you're a young person, if you're a teenager, and you don't necessarily know if you're going to stick with it. I think you told me it was a couple $100.
Yeah, $250 plus taxes.
That's not going to necessarily break the bank.
Yeah.
And so I think it's budget-friendly, it's light, it plays well. It doesn't require a lot of effort to make the chords sound. Yeah. And so I think as an introduction to guitar, it's a good option. It's like, this is new for me. I never would have made this recommendation before, but I think it's certainly a good option for folks.
Yeah. I thought it would be a great idea to just share our thoughts, also some tips and tricks that we have found may be helpful to students or anyone looking for employment.
Yeah, no, we're hearing a lot about that these days. What I would say, particularly to students, is you really just need to keep at it. You have to do more than just your resume. You have to meet people. Get out there, put yourself out there, and I think for some students, not even really just students, anybody, they do find that difficult. And so it's not just about the technology that you know how to do or the specific skill set that you have. It's about, can you relate to people?
Yeah.
And are you able to offer them something that helps them solve a problem? So that's really what it's about, is trying to figure out how to get beyond the mechanics of finding a job.
Great.
That's what I would say.
Well said. This is basically a travel size guitar. I'm not sure what your feelings are. To me, it looks a bit like a toy when I look at it.
Well, I mean, it feels like when you first showed it to me, I thought, am I going to be comfortable with this, or is this something more for a kid? And so I had a similar thought. But
Yeah.
It's a very interesting instrument.
Great. Also, wanted to share that Doug has his own band, been actively doing music. He recently played a gig. We would like to know more on that.
Yeah, this is a new world for me because you and I have had this conversation. So it's probably saying too much to say it's my band. I've been invited into this group. We're four fellas that live on the street that I live on, and we all discovered that we have music in common. So very recently in a community hall, in a place called Ketch Harbor, we've been practicing for, I'd say, probably about 2 years with the goal of doing something in public. Well, it's finally happened. So we've achieved our goal, and it was a deliberate goal that the four of us were after. So we played 3 songs at a community event where it offered the opportunity for many people to do that, but we showed up as a band. We were the only one that was a band.
That's right.
And so that was my first experience performing in public in this way, and it was very rewarding.
Which songs have you covered in that show?
We did a Dire Straits tune called Water of Love. We did a Blue Rodeo tune called Hasn't Hit Me Yet, and then we ended with Tragically Hip, Bob Cajun.
Balancing professional life, having a band, what do you feel? Is there any connection, or do you think that there are distractions? What would be your suggestion or your own experience?
I mean, in terms of why I gravitated to this? Or? Yeah. Okay, that's a good question. I think for me, it's an expression of something that we hold dear in our workplaces. Now that I think about it a little bit more, so we kind of subscribe to the competency of lifelong learning.
Yep.
And I am definitely still learning. So as far as music is concerned, I've always been interested in music. I had the desire to play better than I, continuously improving that. But in terms of what I'm doing now with these fellas, we're called the boys in the basement because we play in Darren's basement.
Yeah.
So I'm learning not just about how to be a better guitar player or a better singer with the guitar. The thing that's new for me is doing it with other people and then taking that and offering it to an audience. That's new for me. So it's definitely taken me out of my comfort zone. And I'm not used to being out of my comfort zone. At this point in my career, I'm pretty established and I'm pretty confident. And so I'm finding that I'm going through a different development of confidence again. And I think that keeps people honest. If you do something that scares you a little bit, I think it means that you're learning something new.
So being creatively involved has any type of conflicts with your professional life?
No. It helps me relax, actually. I feel I have a weird brain anyway. So there's a part of me that my colleagues at work would say Doug's very linear, very process oriented. He's very systems oriented. And yes, he likes people, but he can see the systems. Music's not like that at all. And the connection with people is the thing that binds us together in music. But the process of creating something, it's not linear. Yeah. It's iterative, it's layered, it's thematic. And here I am talking like an artist and I'm a scientist. That's my background as a science degree. So I find that for me, when I'm really having a moment where I'm feeling the music, it's not a linear process. I'm immersed in something greater than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting.
Yeah. And what I've learned that to feel the music requires me to stop paying attention to the performative aspect of it. So this gig that we did, I'll admit it, I was nervous. But then once I figured out that if I just get into the song that I know, and I know it well, we've done it. We've done the work. I just closed my eyes and I imagined doing it properly and giving it. And what happened is I just stopped worrying about whether I could remember the lyrics and remember the next chord, and I just fell into the pattern and I just felt the music, and I think that's the difference.
Great.
Yeah.
Glad to hear that you have this positive experience. And this was your first show, right?
Very first, yeah. I mean, I've played at my aunt and uncle's wedding. This was 20 years ago. This is very recent news, this stuff that we're doing. And I've never sort of been part of a group that says, this is us doing our thing, So yeah, it's very new.
Any upcoming shows in the
October? Yeah, we have a new gig. While we were at the conference, I got news. So we've locked in a date at the same community hall in Ketch Harbor, Nova Scotia. So shout out to Nova Scotia. And this group apparently liked what we did, and they've asked us to perform a concert It's just us. And they're charging tickets at the door and everything. So yeah, they'll be on October the 25th in Ketch Harbor. If you happen to be in town.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyone interested, happen to be in town, Nova Scotia,
Yeah.
October 25th is the day that.
Now we're going to overwhelm the community hall, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The more the better.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a cheap concert, $15.
Great. So, also wanted to quickly ask, with this piece of instrument, while I was looking at you when you were trying to play some melody, what were your first thoughts? Just trying to see whether it fits the bill. By the way, this is an affordable guitar, which is available. I think I paid on Amazon 250 plus Canadian dollars with taxes. So it fits right into those budget-friendly instrument.
Yeah, I noticed a couple of things. Obviously, it doesn't weigh much, right? So if you're worried about a guitar feeling heavy on you, that's not this. The other thing I noticed, I was surprised about the combination of the brightness of the sound and also the depth of the sound. So the lower notes sound meaningful, they're present, they're there, and the bright ones, I didn't think it would have that rich of a sound. And so that's a good thing. And then I thought of my cousin Brittany. Like, I belong to a winter camping group, you know, and we also go camping. This would be a great option around the campfire. It's lightweight, and in terms of the affordability, you're not going to go and buy $1,000 portable guitar to take out camping.
Yeah.
So it seems like this is an option that'll cut through the fact that if you're playing outside, it will still sound great, but also you're not going to worry about damaging it. I mean, this thing seems like a solid piece of gear. Right? So I was really surprised how it sounds, and you know, I don't personally have a lot of guitars, but I did find it took me a little while to find the landmarks. But that's probably just me. You know, it's the guitar and a new one in my hand. The feel of it is, maybe that's what it is. It's not made of wood.
Yeah, it's carbon fiber.
Right? And so that is a different feel. So I think it, you know, for me, it took me a few minutes to get. I don't know what your experience was. I guess you'll tell me about it in a minute, but that's what I noticed. It's really playable. I mean, it doesn't require a lot of pressure to make the chords. Yeah, it's surprising, very surprising.
Yep.
Pleasantly so. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much for sharing your, insights. What was the first type of tune or chords that popped up in your mind when you looked at this guitar?
Oh, I probably went to the ones that we've been playing. How does it sound different than when I'm playing at home on my Seagull, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the G is there and the D is there, and then I went to some A minors and just the major patterns that I already know how to do.
Okay. Why don't you help our audience learn the 3 basic chords?
Sure.
With G, C, D.
So here's G. Put your top 2 fingers on the top 2 strings, and there's a couple ways to play G. This is the way I do it, but you can also. I probably can't do it anymore. Yeah. This is not natural for me anymore, but that's how I first learned it. There's this one, and then sometimes I just press the bottom 2 as well, because it gives a slightly different character to the chord. I know there's probably a technical name for that.
Yep.
Whatever the actual chord is, but you'll see that particular shape in Eagles tunes a lot.
Yes.
And then C, I do two styles of C as well. There's the conventional one where the root is on C.
Yep.
And then there's one if you want to sort of more full body, you can just add the 4th finger on the top on the low E string. Yeah. So that's C. I seem to do both of those, probably in the same song, depending on what character we're trying to give that chord. And then D is down here on the 2nd fret and the 3rd fret. So sort of a triangle shape with the bottom 3 strings. And that's that sound.
Nice.
So that's a different C. It rings.
Yeah.
That surprised me too, right?
Yeah. And also the fact that there are 2 type of sound holes built into this guitar.
Yeah. There's the sound hole where you would expect it to be, and then there's this one here.
The one on the top. It surprised me.
Yeah. There must be a technical name for that. Yeah, but it's bright. It holds the sound, and that was surprising to me.
Yeah. met last year, we did make some plan that moving forward, if we get a chance, we might try to do something, jam on songs. So from that moment, I always had something in mind to have like a travel guitar to carry into these type of conferences or anywhere we can meet and jam. We do have the full body acoustics and it's a pain to carry those, especially when there is a lot of risk in flights getting damaged. That moment I thought, why not try out a travel size guitar and put it to the test, like commuting from Toronto to Hamilton. And during the research for this guitar, I came across a comment from one of the users, and he goes by Tony Blade. I'll share the information in the screen so that it appears appropriately. Thank you very much, Tony, for sharing your story. This was in the channel Learn Guitar Favorites. They also reviewed similar items, which was in gray or black color. But what Tony said, it stuck with me. He said that this guitar helped someone who lost most of their right arm function and their left thumb, and yet they can still express themselves through music. This isn't a budget guitar. For some people, this is freedom.
Wow, that's profound.
Thank you very much, Tony. I hope it's okay to share this within this video, but I just wanted to highlight this, that having a piece of instrument which can shape a human being's musical existence.
It's pretty incredible, and probably enable them to carry on with what lives in them, and be able to express that. I like the freedom. The freedom is the thing that sticks, isn't it?
So Doug, the list of questions. The first one for you is, you have worked with a lot of early career professionals, students across Canada. What advice would you give to a newcomer or international students trying to find a job in Canadian landscape?
That's a good question. I recognize that it takes a certain amount of courage to do that search in a place that you didn't necessarily start your life in, right? So I look at folks like that and think, okay, what is it we can actually do to help them overcome? Like, there's a confidence barrier in addition to whatever other challenges they might actually be facing. So my advice is pretty consistent. Go talk to people. So you can't just rely on the job application. And I think the reality for international students or newcomers is you actually have to work harder, because you're breaking in, you're creating a network that you don't already have, and you're not really sure how it works. So rely on the people who are offering you help. And then when you get referred to somebody, use that network and keep going and increasing it. Go to events, chambers of commerce, industry associations. There are lots of them. A lot of them are active. You're not going to get joy out of every single one, but it is also a numbers game. So you meet lots of people, and once they understand what it is you can offer, because I will become part of the conversation. Because the thing that's great, at least in the part of the country I'm from, people want to help people. And if they know how they can help you, they will do their best, or they'll introduce you to somebody who can help you. So it's both go and meet people, but also know how to ask for what you're looking for, without it sounding like I need a job. What is it you can actually do? What is it you be able to articulate what you're looking for, because eventually you're going to be asked that question once you get past the niceties.
Absolutely. I like the fact you mentioned that without asking for a job. Right? Many factors comes into play when any one of us, we chose the path of networking. It can be virtual, it can be in person.
Absolutely.
Do you have any preference? What I've seen, it varies person to person.
LinkedIn is something that we all know and love, and we tell our students go and make sure you have a profile, and that's all good advice. But if it's a cold attempt at linking in with somebody and they don't know why, you're unlikely to be successful, I think. So it's better to have an introduction. It's better to go to an event, have that human interaction. And this is what I say to our students, especially our master's students. Like if you're undergrad, like you're kind of going through the sausage machine of cooperative education or career development. Graduate students come with a certain amount of maturity. They really are expecting to be able to break in, and they're really starving for that advice. And in a lot of cases. So what I would say is leverage the network, being able to respond in a very succinct way.
Yes.
What are you bringing to the table? And who should I be introducing you to? Or can you help me? I've been on both sides of it as the advisor of the students in terms of the folks in our team that do that work with our students, but also as an employer, right? So I sometimes hire people, and I just, if someone's messaging me out of the blue on LinkedIn or an email and I don't know why and I don't know what the context, we're all busy. I'm probably going to ignore it. So if I'm doing that, then for sure industry is doing it, right? So you have to have a reason to connect. But I also encourage students to do the cold call from company to company. Get on the phone or the Teams message, whatever. But don't rely just on email messages. They won't be successful. And I think that's the part about messaging on LinkedIn that I'm trying to get at is find the way to have a human face-to-face interaction or telephone call, next best thing.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, every interaction matters.
It does, yeah. So, I like to say, whether you're in an interview or not, if you're going to some kind of an event, your professional self, you need to adopt that persona as you step out your front door.
My next question to you, what do you look for when hiring someone, if you're in the hiring capacity?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm sure it's different for every person who makes hiring decisions. The very first thing I look for is tell me why you want this job. Why did you apply for it? A lot of people have trouble articulating that in the cover letter, which you get through the interview.
Yep.
But if you cannot answer that question in a way that's authentic, and don't tell me you want a job. I know that already, right? So if you are able to articulate why the job is of interest to you and that you're actually interested in it, that's something I definitely look for. So motivation for the position is something I pay attention to. The other thing that I am generally quite interested in understanding, I'll usually add questions that phrase on how do you interact with other people? We're in the people business, and how you do that under pressure. So one of the questions I like to ask does make people uncomfortable. It's usually something like, tell me about a time when you disagreed with your boss or your supervisor or even a colleague if they haven't had the other two experiences, which is fine. People are nervous anyways, but tell me about a time when there was a disagreement. What was the disagreement? What did you do about it? What happened in the end? What was the result? How you deal with adversity. As much as we want to create workspaces that don't have any of it, it's not normal. There's usually some conflict that will happen. Not all conflict is bad. Sometimes it's good, but if you're able to get through that in a way that's respectful. So I'm looking for that in an authentic expression. And then the last question I usually ask them is, so we're interviewing a variety of candidates for this role. What is it you want us to remember about you when we walk away from this interview? That question has morphed over the years. I used to be very blunt, like, well, tell us why you want this job. That's a bit too blunt. And so now it's become, what do you want us to remember about you? And it's a kind of a nicer way to ask the blunt question.
Great.
And you'd be surprised how complete those answers can be. And you'll also be surprised what people will actually tell you about their work history, good, bad, and ugly. So we look for the good. And then the bonus thing that I look for is, do they ask good questions? If you end your interview and you don't ask me any questions, I think it demonstrates interest in the team, interest in the work, interested in the position and its role in that work. So that was your bonus tip.
Thank you very much. I have another question. This is basically a follow-up question. What about students or career changers who feel behind their peer group while doing job search and not being successful in that period?
Yeah, because that's a hit to confidence. That's the thing you're fighting as a job seeker. Well, I would say do your best not to worry about comparing yourself to others, which I know is challenging for most of us. We live in a society that does reward performance. But maybe it's like music. You're on a journey, and there's no single right way to get to where you're trying to go. And most of the time you're competing with yourself. So I think for the job seeker who's starting to worry about, am I behind? And what's the frame of reference? Especially if you're pivoting your career. Well, you're starting, but that could also be an adventure. So maybe just reframing it into something that's a new experience and resetting the expectation. That's what I would offer.
Great. Great. I think you have answered all my questions.
Yeah, good.
Thank you very much.
I hope it was helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope our audience find this information helpful, and I would be curious to know if you have any feedback or suggestions. Feel free to comment. We'd be more than happy to know and even learn from you if you have any other tips for us that we can further explore.
For sure. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Excellent.
Great. So, any final thoughts about the guitar that you're holding currently?
Certainly an interesting instrument. It's surprisingly, the sound is full. I think that's the thing that surprised me the most about this.
Yep.
And as someone who appreciates wood, it's not that.
No.
So the durability of it, I think the carbon fiber or the material that they've made this out of is what makes it so light. I think if you're looking for a travel guitar and you're looking for that, it's a really good option.
Yeah, without breaking the bank.
Yeah. Well, who wants to break the bank? I think that's the point I'm so surprised. The price point for this and the depth of sound that comes out of something so small and portable, that's pretty surprising.
Absolutely.
So they must have spent a lot of time researching how to construct this and the design of it to get that to happen.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention that this guitar comes with a sort of a package. I'll share the unboxing video. This comes with a gig bag. This comes with a cleaning cloth.
Okay.
Then it comes with a strap, a good quality strap, by the way, and some picks, one Allen key, and music chart sheet for free or lessons that are provided by Enya.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Good for them. That's quite a package.
Yeah, great package for anyone who is planning to, buy their first travel size learner guitar.
If I rewind the clock 20 years, as a parent of up and coming potential musicians, this might be a good way to start.
Yeah.
You're not going to buy, an $800 Dreadnought Seagull guitar. This might be a good way to get somebody to introduce to it, to see if they'll actually stick with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I have found interesting about this guitar when I was testing it and playing it, it didn't give me a feel of awkwardness. I don't know whether it happened with you, but the very first time I was planning to play a full body acoustic guitar, I remember how awkward I was placing my right hand and then trying to move it.
Yeah.
So as soon as I, picked it up, it was like there were no barriers in between.
Yeah, certainly there's less real estate. No, it's great. It's a great little machine. Yeah, I like it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We are very grateful that we have your time here, and hopefully we get to see you in our upcoming episodes.
Yeah, well, let's do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.